See you guys.
Let's talk more about those falling airfares that Phil brought up. Our next guest believes they're going to continue to fall, especially if fuel prices continue downward. Let's bring in Seth Kaplan, managing partner of Airline Weekly. So you heard the average price that Phil was talking about on a domestic ticket, a little over $200. Do you think it falls even further, and when, and how do I get it?
Yeah, it'll level off here at some point, but yeah, I mean, it's exactly what Phil described. Basically, the airlines are trying to get their hands around the falling unit revenues. You know, it's basically been a race to the bottom for a couple years now between falling fuel prices. That's the good news for airlines. Falling unit revenues, such as falling airfares, that's the bad news for them. The good news for consumers. Yeah, in terms of how to get it, you know, be patient. I think a lot of people know that if you wait until the last minute to buy, you're going to pay a lot. What not as many people know is that the opposite of that is not exactly true. You know, it's not the early bird, somebody who books 10, 11 months out, who gets the very cheap airline ticket. Generally, a month or two before you travel, kind of that sweet spot. More often than not always, in terms of getting the cheap ticket.
And should I believe all these sites out there that it's best just to go to a travel website? Do they really aggregate all the fares? Is that the most efficient way or not?
Well, they aggregate most of them. You know, sites like Expedia or what's called a meta search site like Kayak, which kind of searches all the other searches. But you're not going to see Southwest's fares in there. I mean, that's a giant domestic airline, obviously. Not going to see Allegiant's either. So, you know, keep those two in mind. In particular, if you live in a market where they're relevant, you got to go straight to their sites to look for their fares.
All right, Seth. Thank you for the news you can use of Airline
Weekly. You got it,
Weekly.
Michelle.